Okay, so as I said, I've just made some notes here, and it's just, but some of the things we'll be going over that we've done, so that there may be some conversation stuff that we haven't even touched yet. So when we broach the question of what is dementia, what is a neurocognitive disorder, um, what I wonder what we think comes underneath that umbrella, okay? Because dementia is the umbrella, okay? So if you're ever doing a talk on it, that's the umbrella word, dementia. And so for some people, it's, if you like, a definition could be brain failure. And there's all the various different types of dementia. There's 100 different types. The most common ones we've come across, and we've been talking a lot about vascular dementia. Then you've got Alzheimer's is the most common one. Lewy bodies, prefrontal lobe, and there can be combinations of them. So somebody can have vascular and Alzheimer's together. There could be combinations. Now, Parkinson's disease, that is under the umbrella. Okay. And we all know that it's important to get an early diagnosis so that changes can be made to start to keep somebody at that, that level. And that's where we come in. So let's just go over the early warning signs that somebody could have this neurocognitive disorder, could have dementia. So just throw out there, what might you notice as a as an early that's one of them, maybe.
Yeah.
Getting your words muddled up.
Yeah, that is one of them, I believe. Yeah, confusion.
and actually, Virgo, we always have to have a sense of humor, okay? So but what are you remembering as the early warning signs of where you might notice that somebody's having decline?
Yeah, well, so it's memory stuff, taking longer to do things that they would normally do, thinking about things, confusion, forgetting certain words for things and that type of stuff.
Yeah, muddling things up. What about you, Carrie Ann? And you've lived this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, gosh, it's hard to say how my mom, uh, early signs there, just maybe I would say more confusion type stuff is what I noticed more than anything with my mom. Um, and forgetfulness, she would forget people's names and get people mixed up sometimes. Um, like all of a sudden, she would, it would be like, she would call me her sister.
Okay.
She would say, "Oh, Ian, so glad you're here." And that's her sister. That wasn't me. So it's kind of interesting. The thing is, though, she was very much like a mom to her sister because she was the oldest and her sister was much younger than she was.
Right. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's what she remembered.
Yeah.
And and then we know that sometimes that some of us have so much on our minds that we can lose our keys.
Yeah.
Can forget that.
Oh, yeah.
Where are my sunglasses? Oh, they're on my head. Okay. That we can misplace stuff. Does that mean you have dementia? No, it doesn't. Okay. So it's and sometimes again, it's like this is quite funny. So my dog is called Sunny, and I've also got a Hey Google in my house. And for some reason, sometimes I call my dog, hey Google. I don't know why. So, but it's just the repetitive thing, you know. It's just because I've got so much else on my mind. And then it was like funny because the Google replied to me the other day. I said, hey Google darling, come here. And it said, I am not your darling. But how can I
No.
So it's just really funny. So it's but people who have lots of children will get their names muddled up. You know, I used to call my daughter Sky. Sometimes that was my other dog's name instead of Sophia, because it's we have this it's called the loved up names, you know, things that you love. You can often confuse. So and that's okay. That doesn't mean that's dementia.
Right.
However, it is definitely the confusion of why am I here? However, we also need to understand how many times have all of you ever gone upstairs or gone to the other, I don't know if you're in a ranch style, Carrie-Anne, but you go to another, you go, what was I here for? I knew I had to get something.
I'm always walking back and forth. Sometimes it's like, okay, now I know I came in here for something. What was it that I came in here?
That doesn't mean that's dementia. Apparently, and I share this with you, it's quite interesting. There is a thing called doorways. And the more doorways you go through, you forget what you have to get. It's actually a natural phenomenon.
It's an interesting thing.
Yeah. So it's like, so, and I was so delighted when I heard that, because there's so often I'll go to, what did I need to get? And then I'm halfway down and say, oh yeah, that was it. And I'd go back, just like you do.
Yeah.
Do you ever do that, Gary?
No, I can't say I do.
It's a woman thing. We're always
be a woman thing.
I think doing things and making sure everybody's okay. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So that's quite funny. But that doesn't mean that you have dementia. Okay. It is, however, say going food shopping and wondering what you're doing suddenly in the grocers.
Oh, yeah.
Or forgetting where home is from the grocers.
Yeah.
So, really, I mean, I've lost my car sometimes, but I always find it, you know. It was much easier when it was a really standout color, but now it's black and it's like,
oh. In the US, you have such big car parks anyway. It's
a lot of black cars.
You have to remember where it is.
Yeah. You know, I must admit, just to be, I mean, it doesn't happen to me very often, but I must admit, I've got an Apple tag in my car now.
Have you? There you go. It's a good idea. So you know where it is. Find it. But and in case somebody steals it.
Yeah, as long as they don't realise at the time, but yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good idea to get one. So you have to, I have to sometimes and especially in a high-rise block and you've gone off, you've gone, I don't know, it's like when we went to Arizona recently and we parked the car and I said, right, what level are we on? Where is, because you can go down steps through doorways, you can have dinner, come back, you might have had a glass of wine, you could, where were we?
Yeah.
It's like, so does that mean we have dementia? No. All right. But so there's things about, we've got to, it's just like the whole norm, there's some things that are just normal. All right. Normal forgetfulness. Are we a little bit worse as we get older with that? Probably, but it doesn't mean we've got full-blown dementia. Okay. So it's, and I think there is a whole thing of learning to laugh at ourselves with these things. Like I say, sometimes I go, where's my phone? I've got it in my back pocket or something. It's like, stupid. But yeah, it's like, you'll know when you have somebody, if somebody is, I'm sure you have maybe had that when somebody's calling you and they're like 100 miles away. I don't know where I am. It just started driving and lost. It's the lost bit.
I
It's,
can remember Chuck's cousin, what she would do is repeat. She would say something, make a statement, and then 2 minutes later she would say it again.
yeah,
And then she would say it again. And it was like, you know,
yeah,
same.
yeah, yeah. That's what I do when I've drunk too much. I repeat myself. And I don't, I don't like it. I don't like it, so I try not to drink too much. I don't like it. I know I'm doing it, and I'm like going, "What am I doing?" I'm like saying the same thing. It's just ridiculous. But you're right. It is exactly that, repeating themselves, or again, overly asking the same question because it somehow hasn't gone in.
Yeah.
In the short-term memory loss. It's just like so it can be a little bit confusing. So we've got the early warning signs, and it's all very well. People go, "Oh no, well, I've just seen them, they're fine." Yeah, they will be, because you're engaged, they're whatever, it's like, that's why sometimes some family that are living, not living with them, and they see them for just a couple of hours, what's your problem? They're fine. No, you're not living with them, only
Right.
the person who's
Not the
really living
same.
with them
Yeah.
will see the decline.
Day-to-day thing. Yeah.
And so we know the stages. We would probably see somebody stage 4, because it takes ages for people to get a diagnosis. They're in denial. The big D word. People don't like those D words. Death, divorce, and dementia. People
And
will.
takes so long to get any diagnosis for anything over here with the NHS. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a survey done the other way, and because obviously a doctor is not going to give you a diagnosis, they'll just send you a specialist to a specialist to then do some investigations, and saying that the average time frame now between seeing a GP and getting referred to a specialist on the NHS is 17 months.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right.
The
So
specialists have long lists, long.
yeah, and they do hear there are not enough neurologists. There aren't enough.
Well, this is not to actually get anything done. This is just to actually see a specialist. That doesn't mean to say you're going to get any tests done or anything else. That's just your first appointment with one takes 17 months. And then it might be, oh yes, we'll do such and such tests, and that might be another 6 months.
And then you're dead by them. If it's prefrontal lobe, you'd be dead by them.
Yeah.
Because it's so fast, and that's it's shocking, really.
I wonder, because someone was mentioning that the other day. I just remember where it was. There we go, remembering. They were saying that they needed, in a particular medical situation, they needed a neurologist, and there's like only one up here. And we have, 70, just in the general Tri-City area, we probably have close now, I would think, to 100,000 people living here.
Yeah.
And there's only one neurologist.
Yeah.
So,
and what happens if something happens to him?
Right, exactly. And so it's really hard. Here, sometimes that we have found to, if someone has a particular situation, they're calling and trying to get an appointment, and it's almost better to go to emergency, because then emergency is going to recommend you, and they will see you right away when emergency recommends you. So I had a friend that was having a lot of arthritic type of problems all of a sudden. And I finally told her, I said, Gail, I said, go to emergency. I said, they're going to get you in. And sure enough, within a week, she was seeing an orthopedic guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is a little bit quicker here, just because people pay for it. But it's but the fact is that that's where, you know, if we can come in with some things to help the caregivers through this journey, you know, as you say, even if it's just relaxation, even if it's just some guidance, even if you give out free stuff, a free talk, there will be people who will want to work with you. You know, as I say, we've got that free e-guide, you know, that Beryl and I did. I think you've all got it. And you know, I'll put it up again on the thing. Just share it. You know, even if you're not seeing anybody, this is free. This is useful. You can get the next one up. It's only $7. It's free. It's useful. Just, well, it's not, it's $7. But it gives you all those e-guides that we've already discussed. It's just more, because the information, it just, because if they can't afford to get help, if they can't, whatever, it's like, what can we do? And it's so important. There is stuff we can do, and it's the compassion there that we need to extend. But we know that when we give, we, you know, somebody will find you and go, thank you, and can I work with you for this, you know, or they've heard you, you know, or maybe it could be for another situation. But the fact is, it gets you out there as an expert on the subject and as somebody who cares. So yeah, so those isn't that awful though? Isn't that so sad?
Yeah, it is sad that it
you can't get, it takes forever to work out what it actually is.
Yeah.
So as we know, we've got these assessments that we can do ourselves. We went over those and over those. Do you remember the Montreal cognitive assessment? And so we can give people a baseline. Well, would it help if we did this? You know, and it's like, I'm not diagnosing, but let's just have a baseline. And, you know, and that's what we can do. So it's, and then again, it's very interesting with the whole memory thing, because this is where we get curious. And I love that word, curious, because we have, with memory loss, is it delirium from not having enough water? Okay, shrinkage of the brain. There is, and because we know, I think it was Carrie Ann, you told me that when we get older, we don't that ability to recognize if we're thirsty. It might not be you, I don't know, it might have been Carol. It was Carol. Okay. And we've got a video on here with Carol telling her story. So it was Carol. We lose the ability as we get older to know if we're thirsty.
Yeah.
And actually, by the time you are thirsty, by the time you're like, oh, I really need some more, you're already dehydrated.
Oh, yeah.
So you need, and you know, when you live in hot places, it's hot. It's hot in England right now, Gary.
Yeah, we're having an absolute heat wave at the moment. It's about 32 degrees today, and so it's about 36 up in my office here at the moment.
Oh, wow. Sweating buckets. So that's absolutely. 36 degrees, Carrie Ann, is about 90s.
Yeah.
For, I think, in Fahrenheit.
For England.
Or late 80s.
That is very warm.
Which is very warm.
We get that a lot. We're in the 90s today, too.
Yeah, but there's, but we have wet heat. You have dry heat.
Yeah.
I have air conditioning. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize.
I'm fine. I've got air conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't over here.
No.
Yeah, God bless you.
And carpets.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, it is hideous. So yeah, it's very difficult to sleep in England when it's hot. So, and depression can cause memory loss, and of course, you know, people can just choose to misremember things on purpose.
I don't know whether you found, I put a piece of research up earlier in the week. I don't know whether you've had time to look at that.
Oh,
which is interesting, from Japan, Nagoya University, and they're saying basically that the findings of their study saying that brain aging is linked to neuron hyperactivation, not decline, which is an interesting one.
Did you put that in the group?
That's interesting.
Oh, did you? I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying that it's they've done a study of nematodes in the brain, and they
yeah.
found that age-related decline in brain function is caused by excessive activation of certain neurons rather than a decline in neuron activity.
Huh,
So they're suggesting that
interesting.
interventions aimed at reducing neuron hyperactivation, such as dietary changes, could potentially mitigate age-related cognitive decline.
Yeah.
So what are they saying? I'm confused now. Sorry. So what are they saying? Don't change your diet.
No, they're saying that about changing the diet. They say that
Oh.
proper brain function occurs when a large number of neurons are connected to each other and work in an appropriate way. In this sense, declines in brain function with age have generally been attributed to a decrease in the activity of neurons over time. And it's saying, however, in humans, some types of neurons have been reported to become hyperactive with age. So they're saying that it's the hyperactive, they're looking at the connection, cause and effect relations between hyperactive neurons and a decline in brain function with age.
Oh,
So basically the opposite of what we seem to be thinking.
yeah. But it's still,
I'm sure we're
but
just
it's still
tipping.
causing a decline.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, because
Uh,
they're saying, I mean, there's quite a lot to it. But it says previous studies have found that brain function for associative learning, and they've given a specific thing, declines over time. And we thought this was due to a decline in neuron activity with age. But our latest study found that the activities of AFD, sensory neurons, and interneurons, both of which are thought to be essential for learning, barely change with age. And then they said they study the behavior of something called each of 6 types of neurons thought to be involved in associative learning. and and they said that and they said, or they removed something and said they measured the activities in the neurons and found that a couple of them spontaneously and excessively activated more with age. So the findings suggest that hyperactive of 2 types of neurons with age disrupts the normal neural network, rendering them to carry out their normal behaviour.
I can probably see that as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Definitely.
yes, too much, too busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's overcrowded and
yeah. So the
people,
opposite of what we actually think.
yeah, and so instead of them being if you like, decimated, there's just it's overcrowded.
Yeah.
Well, and we have so much more information now. I
Mm.
mean, we've got the computer, we've got the phones, we are inundated with more information than probably ever in history.
I agree. And we're living
And
longer.
Mm.
we're living longer. And so the brain is going to like,
Yeah,
you know,
too much information.
too much
That is
information.
interesting. Too much.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough. So there we go back to mindfulness. We go back to what we do with relaxation. Yeah.
Exactly.
And we go back, so because it is the relaxing type of hypnosis that we're doing here. Inviting them to have good memories, inviting them that feeling that they used to feel, bringing in that confidence feeling back of when they used to do this and bringing that back with them. Sort of letting go of their horrible thoughts in a balloon, the balloon or a magic cloud or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And how people, you put it into a
Kind of more
glass tip.
traditional,
The
old
old,
traditional
yeah, it is.
hypnosis.
It is the old traditional
Yeah.
hypnosis.
Yeah.
Relaxotherapy, basically.
Yeah.
Meditations, because when they're in that hypnagogic phase, they're getting this acetylcholine, which is the good, juicy, like hormone or whatever it's called, whatever it is that feeds those synapses. So, and that is what the guided meditations can do.
Theta states of mind
Mhm.
create a lot of change.
Yeah, so that instead of getting all that confused, they're going and being. So this is a tool. Let me just hang on. Sorry about this. Let me just, because I just had a thought. Right. So say that is how they feel. Whoops, that is the overwhelm. Just so much, right? So much information on there on that page, yeah?
Mhm.
This is what we're trying to do for people.
Yeah.
Didn't that feel nice?
Yeah.
And then learn something or do something,
Oh,
like the stages of getting dressed, the stages of your day, instead of that being your day. That's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
Of like,
Barbara Walters said she always had to live in one day. She had to focus on that day, because if she focused
oh,
on her whole week, she would be here in America one day, in Russia another day, in Africa another day. She had so many things going on in her life. She found the greatest tool was just focusing on that day.
yeah. And
Same thing, that moment,
yeah,
living
be.
moment to moment.
And then if necessary, chunk it down hour by hour. And we do
Yeah.
that for the caregiver as well, because
Yeah.
that busy sheet is also, that's what it's like for the caregiver.
Right.
When they see their life, they think, oh my gosh, that's my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to, so when they can visually see it like that, it's really helpful to chunk it down, you know, bit by bit. Okay. So that's something that we can help people with to do. So yeah, we all know that again, because this is, I always like my little toys. That's what it can feel like for people. Snow globe. It's useful to have a snow globe, and the hypnosis can help them settle so that they are just being. So it's always useful to have a snow globe about to explain this is what you're going to be doing for them. Okay, going to be calming them down. And just by showing them, reassuring that, even giving them that they can visually see that, people already go, oh, oh, good, thank you. Can we get on with it? Because that's all people want is peace, really. I mean, you can imagine it, can't you? And you did, you had that, Carrie-Anne, you know, it's a lot. So, however, we get curious, okay? So what's their water intake like? So anybody living with who is more mature has to drink water. Do you know, all of us, you know, I know Carrie doesn't like water.
open beer.
Well, do you know what? I mean, in the olden days, all right, real olden days, he's got his Coke there. In England, they literally, you know, it was like they didn't drink water because it was dangerous to drink water. Okay, so we're talking back in the old days. So they would make mead, and they would be drinking beer, hops. They would drink beer all day long, pretty much.
Yeah.
But of course, we all know that but there were, I mean, I don't know, how old did people used to live in the olden days? Up to maybe it was always the 70. So 70 was a ripe old age. People at 50 looked old. Yeah, you were old. You were older in your 40s. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they had children in their teenagers. They were getting married at 14.
Yeah, that's true too.
And just to keep the human race going. But yeah, so many people died and lost their teeth, lost this, you know, there was like disease all over the place. So very few people did get to an old age anyway. So, but yeah, that's what they used to drink. So interesting, isn't it? I wonder if that ever had, but they would have died drinking the water. So they go.
You have to have fluids of some kind.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay.
Maybe they juiced a little bit or something, but still, it's not water. It's not the same as drinking.
Yeah, wine. They would. So again, we've got to get curious about urinary tract infections. A UTI will escalate an issue really quickly. Anger, delirium, confusion, pain. And we know that when we're in pain, we can get, very irritable, changes our moods. So all of those things. So we have to rule out. So I would always encourage any of our caregivers to always, care partners, to always check out on UTIs and, water for any changes. Yeah. But Carol's story is in the, on here as one of the recordings that, on what, I don't know if any of you managed to listen to Chet as well, Chester, that one that I did about him and his daughter, his granddaughter. Quite sad.
I apologize, I didn't.
Yeah, it's okay. So we have let's look at some other issues. Can dementia be improved? Well, we can keep it the way it is. Can it be improved? I think we can, because we can't say we cure things. All right. Certainly, Gary, you couldn't say that hypnosis is going to cure it. But because of, if somebody is so depressed, has so much anxious, is so anxiety ridden, so angry, so whatever, it may appear that it's improved because they're not there anymore. And because you're inviting them to join in a community, we're giving them tools to like go out more, to, with that whole thing of, well, can you go to the shops and just give this card to the shopkeeper that says, my companion has dementia, I appreciate your understanding. So it's like, so they're getting out now. So maybe that would help them. So it might appear that it's improving, but of course we would never say that. We can just help it. Again, we've got to get doctors' referrals. Can I work with your patient? But do you know what? You have to say, if I don't hear from you, I'll assume it's okay, because they never get back to you. Do you have that, Gary? They ain't got time.
Yeah.
I write to, actually, I did hear from an oncologist here that it was okay for me to see their patient, but it's very rarely, never heard back in England.
Yeah. Now, typically, I don't contact people asking for permission. I do contact doctors, just letting them know that I'm working with their patient and we're working on, relaxation techniques and these few things.
Yeah.
That's if my client gives me permission to contact the doctor and share information.
Right.
Yeah, it's very rare that the client will. I mean, I've got a box on my intake form, and they say, "Well, what's that for?" And I said, "Well, just to let perhaps the doctor know that I'm working." "Oh, no, I don't want you to do that."
Yeah.
They want you to know. They don't. Yeah. And it's, at the end of the day, people need to have that kind of control over their lives, don't they? Gotta have some.
Especially with smoking, I do that. I will ask them, because if here, for insurance purposes, after someone has quit smoking for a year, they're considered that that they're no longer a smoker, and insurance rates will drop because they're no longer a smoker. So they need valid proof that, hey, it's been a year since I quit smoking.
See, over here, they jump on that as well, because it's been queried over here when you say, "Oh, I've worked with so many people and they've given up smoking for a year and whatever." The advertising standards authority over here is saying, "Well, how do you evidence that?" And if you say, "Well, the client said so," after I follow them off, they say that's not valid.
True.
They need to have a breath test.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So
Well,
maybe they do. I didn't know if they have breath tests.
well, and if they have stopped, then the breath will be better.
Yeah, but they won't accept a testimony from the client to say that they've stopped. They say for you to claim that they've stopped, they've actually got to have a special type of breath test to prove that there's no whatever in the breath.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. So you
Hmm.
can't go saying that you've
No.
stopped people smoking.
Well, I think the idea is if I contact the doctor saying that I've been working with this patient, um, one of their patients for, whatever, in a smoking cessation program, and they have completed the program. And please put this in their files to say that they've completed the smoking cessation program. So then in a year or whatever, they can say, okay, I've done this for a year. Whether they've done it or not, like you say, Gary, you don't know what people,
No, and over
you
here
know.
they jump on it saying, "Oh, you
But
can't
That's
prove
why
it."
I'm loving my biofeedback thing more, because they can't lie. It's gonna just help them from where they're
Yeah.
at.
Although I
yeah.
did have a strange one this week. I actually had well, they phoned me when I was on holiday, but I actually had a letter from a solicitor wanting copies of my patient notes for somebody that I dealt with, which
Ooh,
because they say it's involved in a malpractice case, but not with me by the look of it, so which is
with
good.
someone else.
But I mean, quite why they wanted them seems really strange because from what I can gather, well, somebody when they saw me was a 12-year-old, and it was about 8 years ago, I think, or seven years ago, something like that, or 6 years ago. It's certainly a few years. In fact, no, it's 2021, so 4 years ago. At the time, they were just coming up to 13, and the malpractice case seems to be a misdiagnosis of Coates disease, which I had to look up, and
Oh yeah.
apparently it's something to do with blood vessels in the eye actually doing too much blood behind the eye or something, and then it bursts and can actually cause blindness. And they seem to be suing somebody or other for misdiagnosis and that it wasn't diagnosed. And they wanted all my records for dealing with him. Well, they brought the guy to me for obsessive behaviour at the age of 13, which has got nothing to do with that whatsoever.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure why they wanted that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I had
have
interesting. I
hit
had
that.
somebody for OCD in England, and they were like literally pulling their
Yeah.
eyeballs out. That was that
Yeah,
they're
no, it was
pushing
nothing to
their
do with the
eyes.
guy. I mean, I did check to see whether the disease can cause any obsessive behaviour or compulsive behaviour, and they say absolutely not. But his behaviour was just sort of he used to used to think. I think he had a choking thing once upon a time. Was sick. And kept associating things. So he would, but they would go on holiday and he'd buy a football shirt and he'd only wear it once and then decided it was bad luck to wear it again, or he wouldn't sit in a certain seat in the kitchen because he thought it was bad luck and all that type of thing.
Oh yeah, that's
So I can't see
yeah.
that's got anything to
Obsessive
do with blood
compulsive
vessels in the eye
almost.
whatsoever. So so I'm not
Mm.
quite sure why they want it. And I mean, I did put on the thing because I mean the notes that I sent them hardly had anything on it anyway because a 12-year-old doesn't really say much. And there's a
No.
lot of questions you can't ask them anyway.
Oh,
That
that's the
you
bunny
know.
talk process. You needed that then.
Well, no, not at the time, but
No, but if you could have used it if you'd had
yeah.
it, because
Well, no, it's far
he
better
would
to
have
just have
drawn
it.
it out.
It was far better to have a whole list of notes with virtually nothing on it to send to the
Oh,
solicitor.
I see. Well, there you go. Yes, then a whole great big thing of the bunny
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, it was just sort of sleep problems a dash, relationship issues dash, this problem dash. So it was absolutely nothing, and it was sort of like 2 words for each thing. Session one did children's what was it? Children's compulsive suggestion. Session two children's parts therapy for suggestion.
Yeah,
Session three,
they
which was
didn't
the last
get
one
much
I
from
did,
you.
sort of a metaphorical storytelling technique, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, but I'm glad you've brought this up because it goes to how long do we keep our records for?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
over here, I think it's 10 years. I believe it's either 10 or 12 years over here.
Yeah, I would think it's probably the same here.
Because there's an interesting thing over here which I've never done and I can't see anybody else doing, but our complementary natural healthcare council say that actually you should make provision if something happens to you of where your records are going to be stored, because they still need to be available and accessible for that period of time.
Interesting.
Do you know what? You're right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out. It's true.
Mm.
That's yeah. So there we go. Legal issues, and then insurance. You know, we all have to be insured when we do this work.
Yeah.
Mostly in most countries.
Yes.
And insured if we go to people's houses. So there's somebody comes to your house.
I did teaching in Bahrain, and was talking about it there because with people doing my oncology course, one of the things I insist if they want accreditation is they have to prove not only do they pass my exam, they have to prove they're qualified hypnotherapists, and they have to send me their insurance documents to prove they're insured and things like that. And when I taught in Bahrain, they said, "Oh no, we're not insured. We can't get insurance in Bahrain." They said they've only just recognised psychology, and they certainly don't recognise hypnotherapy. So there's no way we can get insurance for it.
So what did you do?
Well, in that case, I just have to accept the fact that the country won't let them have insurance.
Yeah.
You know, it's like our things like using Zoom and other things for doing online stuff. I mean, the countries, okay, we've got around it with certain people, but things like FaceTime and stuff like that are illegal in a lot of the Middle Eastern countries. So if we want to do sessions with them, we have to use stuff that the government can hack into. or set up something specific. I mean, luckily I've only worked with expats, so they've got things that are probably illegal, but a lot of things, like certainly if you buy something like an iPhone in certain, like Saudi Arabia and whatever, it's illegal to have things like FaceTime and that on it. They have to change the operating system.
Wow, there you go. It's I mean, there, you know, we just can't sometimes fathom that, can we?
No. I mean, it's all for moral reasons, apparently. It's so that men and women can't secretly talk to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that might be a good thing.
Interesting. I didn't realize that, but it's interesting. Yeah.
It is. So we have the whole thing of the legal issues. So it's make sure that you are insured and that you have, you know, that you do take notes of what's going on, of what you've observed, what you've given out as tools and techniques and strategies, even if it's just one word, you know, like Gary, you know, that's all that needs to be.
Yeah, and so going back onto the privacy thing like that, is a funny story. When I used to be in the oil industry many years ago, we were doing some work in Syria. I wasn't out there personally, but we had some people out there, a person out there doing some software work in Syria, and he was Dutch, and his wife was Dutch as well. And we used to know that when he would phone from Syria to talk to his wife, who was either in Holland or the UK, that they would always be listening in on your calls. The government would be listening onto the calls. We knew they knew that because they could hear the clicking. And one day they phoned up and they wanted to talk about something I think slightly private. So started talking in Dutch, and they got interrupted, saying, "If you don't go back to talking in English, we'll cut you off." Because the people monitoring the call didn't understand Dutch.
They actually even broke in.
Yeah, to say you need to talk in English, otherwise we'll cut the call off.
Wow. Well, we won't have that problem here in America, or do we? We don't know.
No,
we don't know who's listening. So
saying that, I'm going to have to disappear and do my
you've got to go now. All right, thanks, Gary. Well, we'll just you know, we'll just talk amongst ourselves ourselves then, and probably more on this subject, and I'll leave the rest for next week. All right.
All right. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, Gary.
Bye, Gary. Bye. So in insurance, because in America, you know, it is a litigious society. And I've got insurance as well in case somebody comes in my house and trips up the step
Sure.
and say cracks their knee,
Right.
they could sue me.
Yeah.
You know, if just something, they could sue me. It's like, and so it's, yeah.
That's more with a homeowner's insurance, but I have professional counselor's insurance too. That
I've got both. I've
both.
got home. I've got one to
Yeah.
cover me for my business at home, and out, and I've got my professional liability insurance for business. I've just got two insurances.
Yeah.
Because I'm just doubly covered. Also means actually my other one is pretty good. If I ever lost my laptop, I would get it would be replaced. So
Your laptop? Yeah.
So, and it's yeah. So say, I don't know, I go to Hypnothoughts and my bag gets, you know, stolen, it's covered with that insurance.
And you have backup on your computer.
Well, it all goes on my YouTube, on my, so which I can get anywhere then. Yeah. So yeah. Or
I have this little thing, and I probably plug it in once a week or so. Sometimes I forget it. I plug it in once a month, depending upon how busy I am. But it's called a little click free, and it'll back up everything that's in my computer.
Right.
So if I get hacked or anything like that, I have that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all goes on my iCloud or a cloud anyway, which belongs to my husband's. So he's got it. And so, but it's like, yeah, but it would just be annoying. Don't want to lose my computer, you know, but at least I know it would be replaced.
Sure.
You know, so that's covered. So yeah, but it's just more important because, like I say, we could just upset somebody and we never know.
Yeah.
And I know that there are some people out there who do that and do it on purpose as a kind of a form of income. Go around suing people.
Fortunately, thank God, I've not come across anything.
No, I haven't, but I've heard of it, you know, from other insurers. So so it's not a pleasant thing. But yeah, so we need to just have that awareness of the legal stuff as well, that we're covered. And that's for everything we do in any case, all of our jobs. So yeah.
Now we have HIPAA here, you know, you have that, I'm sure, where you are too. The HIPAA laws that say that everything is private within the practice, that I can't share that information with anybody. The only instance that I can share it is if the courts subpoena me for that information.
Yeah, or if somebody tells you their life's in danger or they're going to kill somebody.
Right.
And even then I say we discuss it first, whether you want to just share that with somebody. Yeah. It's I had a young boy, he being duped by a woman. So he wasn't a young boy, he was a young man. And she was sending him photographs, and she was also asking him for money to help her with the vet fees. And he finally disclosed to me that he'd been stealing from his parents
so that he could send her money.
And I had to tell him she does this to lots of young men as well. And he said, no, she doesn't. She's going to pay me back when she does this. And I said, okay. And I said, did she pay you back? No. And but I can't, because of the security thing, I can't tell the police.
Oh gosh, yeah.
His mum could, but I can't.
But you, if I
wouldn't dare. I
have
wouldn't.
a form, I'm sure you do too, that is for the child to sign and the parent to sign with the understanding that nothing will be shared
Mm-mm,
unless
mm-mm.
I
Because
have
then I would have had to go
permission
into all the other stuff.
from that younger child.
Mm.
Mm.
So interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
So shame. But okay, well, I'm gonna so for anybody watching the recording, make sure that you have insurance, make sure that you're safe. I go to people's houses, but I know them. I wouldn't say just go to somebody's house. I have done, and afterwards kind of thought, why did I do that? But that was when I was much younger. Sort of like, that was a little bit crazy. But it's like, yeah, I used to do that a lot. Because I was a mobile beauty therapist when I very first started out. So I did. But anyway, obviously I'm still here, so everything's fine. But it's like, so if I go to somebody's house now, you generally spoken to the daughters of the pair, of who I'm seeing. They're there, or I know of them. They found me through networking, so I know the people, and so I know it's all safe. So it's all okay. But yeah, safety, got to look after yourself. Got to look after yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I go, I take a bag, and I take my music. So I've got an iPad with music on it. So that when I do, some meditations with them. And I don't necessarily do that in the first one, but I will probably teach them self-hypnosis and some mindfulness. I'll probably give them a recording there. And but they really
record.
I record it.
Pre-record it.
No, I do it when I'm there.
You record it while you're there,
And then I email it to them.
When you do that.
Mm-hmm. So that it's like, that's yours. It's a gift. Straight away.
I think it's good because they need to be able to access that gift.
Yes.
Especially with the dementia type of situation.
Yeah. And do it every day. And if the daughter is there, and you can make little notes around, do this every day. So it's like, that's just what they got to do,
Yeah.
It just becomes part of their routine, or before they go to bed, or this or that, because it just all helps, or during the middle of the day, just before sundowners, just before this, just before, when it's like, oh, shall we do this? It's like, it's the breaking state all the time is pattern interrupts, really important, just before people have a tantrum. Or before they get, because you can, if somebody knows somebody well enough, they'll know if they're going to flash, and get angry, if they're going to suddenly throw it, it's like, but we always, because we get curious, we remind the care partner to always get curious, and then to share that with you so that you can unravel it together. But anyway, we've covered a fair bit today. It's quite interesting. Sharing stories there, and we'll do more other stuff, going over bits next week. And then I'm away for 2 weeks, so I'm going to have to get something exciting. I'm going to have to do a recording with somebody to get that up on there to replace those, because I don't believe you've got. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Okay.